everyone here. Welcome again to Sorting Soup. Hi, everyone. Jeannie, hello for the hi. Thank you for the hello in the chat. As you come in, please do drop your name and where you are joining us from in the chat. That would be great. And if you are a leader of either Indivisible 5051 or Swing Left, any of them, you can drop that in the chat as well. And we're just so happy that you are joining us today, from wherever you might be joining us from. And
Hi, Nora. We were just on the phone. You're here. You're here.
Yeah, I made it.
so incredibly happy to have all of you back with us. If you are returning or if you are new to the soup, we are extraordinarily happy that you're here. Please do, if you're new to the soup, let us know that you are new. Yeah, today's going to be deep, but that's all right. We are hey Deb, nice. Very glad that you have joined us today. All right. So just to get us going, let's see. Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all, I don't have AC in my truck, and as you might have noticed, it's a little hot outside. And I had to drive in this last hour, my daughter to her medical appointment, and there's construction, and construction makes you go slower, and it makes people angrier and hotter, and goodness gracious, it just makes everything just ickier and stickier and grosser. And I tell you, it didn't put me in a good place. So I think we're going to have a little extra breathing moment today just for me. Yeah. But anyway, let's get to the introductions. Hi, I'm Cecilia. Nice to meet you. I am a co-facilitator today, a facilitator, apologies, from Eastern Illinois Indivisible. We will not have Dr. Melissa today. She is in the process of moving, but we keep her picture up because we have her spirit. We will have Dr. Chris, our co-facilitator from San Antonio, Texas. We have Adrian, we have Rebecca, we have Stephanie. We have Boot Money, right? Is he here today?
Do we?
Nope. Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay, we might have Boot Money. All right, but what's important is we have Adrian, vibe checking and chat monitoring. We have Rebecca on the slides and timekeeping, and as well as helping us out with what we're going to be talking about today. And Stephanie, tech support and helping out in the chat. Today's a deep one, y'all. But first, I wanted to talk about what last week real quick. We asked you all last week, the last thing we talked about before we left was to bring, to talk about something that you did for yourself, for self-care, right? To bring something with you into next week that you did for yourself. So if you could drop something in the chat that you did for yourself, for your self-care regimen, that would be awesome, because we need to know what we can do. We need some, just a little bit, just some ideas, you know? I definitely need some ideas. All right. I'm going on vacation next week, so I need a laundry list of ideas, y'all. You guys need to give me some ideas of what I can do to put on my self-care regimen. Okay. And the other reason is because today we're going to be talking about some deep subjects. So deep that we only have two. And that's not that's not normal for us, as you all know. So let's move on to our logistics.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, you signed up for sorting soup, and I see some new faces. I see some let's call you y'all veterans. So for the new folks, what you signed up for, whether you know it or not, sorting soup is kind of a two-part program. And we use the term program pretty loosely. It's a group space where we are with like-minded people, and we are a community that's processing current events and issues together. And we do that in kind of an emotional way and analytically. And the idea is to, through processing all of the emotions, we're able to gather some insights and potentially even brainstorm some action items. Because I don't know about y'all, but sometimes the only way to help myself feel better is to do something. Sometimes it's better to not do something, but I guess it's a range. So this all started um, through coffee and conversations. And even though there's coffee and conversations after hours, that was not enough. People need even longer, different forum to decompress, can continue to process some of these really deep, heavy issues. So we meet every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 o'clock Central. Y'all are here, so we're doing great. And just to introduce the for new folks, we do have a couple of group norms. So when we get to the discussion part, the group discussion, you're going to raise your digital hand if you want to contribute to the discussion. The way you do that in Zoom is in your Zoom menu. You should see it maybe at the bottom of your screen. Um, you will have a heart button, which should have a label that says react. You'll click the heart, and then you'll have a couple of options in there, and one of them will be raise hand. So react heart, push that, and raise your hand. That's how you get in line to share your perspectives. Um, we ask people to keep their comments civil and constructive, and we'll get into this in a minute. We'll try and keep those comments to around 2 minutes or less. And as you saw on the previous page, one of my roles is timekeeper. So if I do see certain folks going on past that 2-minute mark, I will have to try to keep things moving. In terms of other things, just if you see a problem, try and come with a problem-solving mindset. Try and keep the chat fairly organized. So if you post something once, that's probably sufficient. We don't need to post things, over and over again. And then this one's especially important today because we are processing some pretty heavy topics. Take breaks if we need to. You can step away, do some deep breathings. Cecilia is going to lead us in some deep breathing, so that'll really help to keep us all grounded. So here's the format and the timing. We're going to spend about 35 minutes processing, and we're going to spend about 25 minutes brainstorming. So for those of you who have attended previously, no breakout rooms today. We're going to keep us all together as one big community. So those raising those hands will really come in handy. And just try to keep your comments to about 2 minutes. But if you feel like you have more to say, you can raise your hand again and keep the conversation going. So that's it for logistics. Any questions before we do some breathing? I think we're good. Okay.
Okay. So today, the space again is for decompression. Camera use is optional if you need to take pictures of anything that we are sharing. And join however you need to join. So we're going to, today we're going to hold space for grief, for numbness, for outrage, and for truths that have been left unsaid, I think, in many places, maybe even with ourselves. So yeah, we're going to breathe. We're going to breathe with intention. And this is the bardo part of every day, right? What we're leaving behind, what we're present with, and what we're taking forward. So let's make sure that we are grounded, either with your feet on the ground or laying down, however you can feel comfortable. So with a deep breath, take a deep breath in through your nose. What injustice have I stopped speaking about, even though it still hurts? And exhale. Deep breath in. Where in my body do I carry this weight of what I'm avoiding? Exhale. One more. Deep breath in. What would it feel like to be witnessed truly in this moment? Exhale. Deep breath in. What would it feel like to be a witness in this moment? Exhale. Now, we're going to go a little deeper on this breathing. We're going to bring to mind this last question. Begin by noticing where your body meets the ground or the seat beneath you. Let your breath move in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, a breath in and let it go. There is nothing you need to do perfectly. Just be here. Let this moment hold you. Now bring to mind one of these questions, whichever your heart needs most right now. What would it feel like to be witnessed truly in this moment? Or what does it mean to be a witness truly in this moment? Let that question settle into your chest. As you breathe, notice what sensations arise. Is there a tightness, warmth, tears, numbness? Let your body answer, not your mind. Imagine that you are seen, not judged, not fixed, simply witnessed. Or imagine yourself witnessing, not turning away, not shutting down, with eyes open or closed. Say silently, I am here. I see. I feel. Let that be enough. Let that be the beginning. Take one more breath together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And when you're ready, return gently to the room. So, if you have not already, put your name in the chat and what you're grateful for today. And again, if you'd used any of the self-care techniques from last week, that'd be great. And let us know if you're a newcomer to NWSOFA or to the soup. Now, the reason why we had to go through that much breathing is because today we are talking about Gaza and Trump's anti-homeless executive order. And if it seems like those are two extraordinarily heavy topics to deal with on the same day, you're right. But those are two extraordinarily heavy topics that are happening in the same week at the same time, and that we're not talking about a lot this week. Like, mainstream media isn't really talking about a lot. And I find that despicable, personally. And if they can bomb hospitals and we go silent, what does that say about us? I mean, since early July, Israel has escalated deadly attacks on Gaza's last hospitals, schools, and displacement centers. Hundreds of children are dying daily. The Rafah crossing remains closed. The famine that basically we started continues. And U.S. aid continues, but I put that in quotes, okay? Because it is a trickle, and it can't even be confirmed. U.S. media coverage has gone silent. What is left of legacy media is laughable at this point. And I mean, we're told it's complicated because of Bibi Netanyahu and the relationship that he has with our government. And yes, but we are all witnesses. What we don't say is echoing. Our silence is ringing. So my question is, what does the silence around Gaza feel like in your body? Because when I talk about it with my friends, we wonder, why isn't anybody talking about it? And I mean that, like, why isn't anybody talking about it? And I mean, it hurts to even see it, to even see, to talk. It makes me angry to even have to sit to talk about the inaction, right? But what makes me even more angry is the fact that our Democratic members of Congress aren't screaming about Gaza, at least for 15 minutes a day. Take 15 minutes out of your day and just scream about Gaza. I think they should do that, right? Jose. Yes, exactly. Sorry. That was funny. Okay. So what does the silence around Gaza feel like in your community? What does it feel like in your friend group? Judy?
Well, I'm usually a token Jew in these rooms. And I have to say that I am staunchly pro-Israel. And as much as I despise Trump, I think I despise Netanyahu even more. Because to me, Netanyahu is violating our religious tenets, and as the child of a Holocaust survivor, I find that what he's doing is beyond anything I can even begin to deal with. But I find that where I am going to even place my anger isn't even not only there, but even with places like with Jose Andres from World Central Kitchen.
Yeah.
Because he won't say anything about that Hamas needs to simply let go of the hostages and let's move forward. But as long as it's this never-ending cycle that we're never going to be able to speak in anything that's going to sound like rationality in people who are extremely high strung and will never feel safe, because as long as Hamas is holding hostages, the Israelis will never feel safe.
Right.
And as long as Hamas is in power, the Israelis will never feel safe. And as long as Hamas uses the schools and the hospitals as their as their oh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Their places that they operate out of, which has been proven time and time again by independent people, not just by the IDF. There isn't gonna be an easy way for this to end. And we've set ourselves back by generations in the last 2 years. And the Palestinian people who are absolute victims in all of this, who are people who are really people of Jordanian and Saudi Arabian and Egyptian backgrounds, have no way to go back to where they came from, because that's all been lost in this strange form of nationalism as they got pushed into these positions by something that came out of Yasser Arafat and the PLO.
Yeah.
And it just isn't going to end until we actually can say that where we can put blame where it belongs, which to me is right on Hamas, who started the whole thing. And we have to find a way to weed them out and actually go and help the everyday people who are there, and weed out the difference between the radicalized people and those who are not. And then we've still got a problem, because there's been so much that's gone on now for so long, for all these months, that we've radicalized even more of them in another generation of people. And I don't have an answer, but it just absolutely slays me. And I was talking about this last night also in my question. I know you were in the room, I don't know who else was, but I think that that's what we're doing with the young Hispanics that we're kicking out of the country now too. And
Yeah.
we're doing the same thing to them by the way we're treating them in this country. And I don't know what else to do. And with that, I'm going to go back to work and keep listening.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, there was a lot there. This is such a complicated history, right? I mean, there's so much history here. I was trying to explain the history of Israel and Palestine to my daughter, who, skipped that part of history. Go ahead, Boot Money. Thank you. You have to unmute. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Cecilia, why do I feel like you pulled me into something?
Oh, because I did.
Can I give everybody a little bit of history, and can we go into a non-judgmental mindset? Okay, because we've been fed a whole bunch of stuff by a whole bunch of different people, and virtually none of it corresponds to what actually took place.
Yeah.
And now we've got body counts that, yeah, I think, who's up there? Judy? I think Judy is right. Where the hell is it going to stop? But it can't stop because there's enough people of Arabic background, Islamic background. There isn't like one Jewish faith. I mean, I think that's like a lot of people don't quite understand this situation. So, you know, you got to drop down to what it is that are the core beliefs of this particular belief system, which has sort of, it seems like, existed for about 5 or 6 thousand years. Okay, so there's a lot of truth in that belief system, but like all these belief systems, it crossed over and became a control system until it was broken, and it was broken by the Romans in 62 AD. Okay, and that starts a whole new phase of the people of that particular belief system who went out and absorbed beliefs from other places too. Which brings us to sort of this place. If you want to start to understand why we are where we're at, you sort of got to go back to the Ottoman Turks. Because when the Ottoman Turks expanded roughly out of northern India and into the Middle East, their control mechanism was to take over Islam, which at that time was really sort of an egalitarian type of religion. And the first thing they did was slap the burqa on, you know? So whenever a system wants to dominate human beings, it tries to crush the first initial step on the way to realization, and that is the intimacy that human beings have from birth onward and has to be satisfied in some way or it becomes deviant. But anyway, that's beside the point. The Ottoman Turks prized Jewish scholars as well as Arabic scholars. The Ottoman Turks weren't Arab. So there's a lot more to this stuff than just Arabs and Jews. And I would strongly suggest that we stop using the term Jew, because in my mind, it's no different than the pejorative that they always threw at people. I remember being in an Irish bar and a guy called me a Jew and he was going to punch me out. I said, "Yo, man, you know what my name is?" So these are real people. That is a real belief system. All right. So is Islam.
Yeah.
I mean, when they go back to the basic beliefs between these two sets of Western religions, you find that the basic beliefs emanate from the same thing, but of course at different times. All right. And that's what layers in all these belief systems. Now, after the Romans essentially destroyed the temple in I think it's 62 AD. I wish Larry was around. He always helps out or Johnny. But the Jewish people, the Jewish believers in that valley were dispersed, all right? And they entered Central Asia. And then, believe it or not, and I try to check it out, and it sort of does check out, but there was an empire called the Kazakh Empire, and the head of the Kazakhs converted to Judaism. But what made that important was that the Kazakh Empire sat right on this major trade route that they called the Silk Road, which is what the Chinese are trying to reinvent, because it was the main commercial and cultural and belief system interplay. But anyway, to get down to where we're at now, Arabs and Jews generally had somewhat very similar belief systems until the Ottomans, right? And then they were separated for political reasons. After the dispersal, right, There's a very interesting YouTube if you can find it, and it's called, I think it's called "When Did the Jews Become White?" And I think it's very important for everybody to understand because if you accept that we're all on a very large macro timeline and we're just little bits and pieces with our own timelines, you realize we're all Africans. All right. And it comes as a brutal understanding, but when you put it all together, you understand why we are what we are right now. Hey, Cecilia,
Yes, sir.
no dog walking before soup anymore.
No, not for you. You shouldn't do that. Not before soup, only after. And it was 70 CE, our common era, when the second temple, the second burning of the temple, it was destroyed in the year 70 CE, according to the Jewish second temple was destroyed in the year 70 CE. I thought it was 74.
Well,
Bruce,
I thought it was the Maccabee rebellion. You know,
Bruce, are you going to correct me?
no, I'm not.
Not you, Boot Money. Bruce. You can unmute.
Is Bruce here?
Bruce is here.
Excellent.
I do not know the answer to that.
Oh, when the temple was destroyed?
It was destroyed twice, and I
Yeah.
have no idea when the second time was.
It was destroyed twice, and I believe it was 70 CE, Common Era. Anyway, go ahead. Bruce, you're up next.
Oh, I didn't know my hand was up. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Do you have input on what we're discussing today? I'm sure you have an opinion, but you can put your hand down. You don't have to have input.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Gotcha. All right. So, yes, Chris, I agree with you that just because I caught your comment out of the corner of my eye, Jewish people due to the diaspora do live all over the world, so they can't really be tied to any single country. However, because we created Israel for the Jewish people, I believe they can be tied to a single country by default. Israel is for Jewish people. I believe that was the whole point, right? I believe that was the point of Israel.
Well, in 1948, it was established as a Jewish state. However, there were plenty of other people living there as well.
Yeah.
Christians and Muslims as well.
Thus the reason for all the issues. So
Yeah.
I do
And
understand.
in 1948, they were attacked by all the Arab nations. They gained a little bit of land from that. I mean, the problem started because of the way of the partition. Originally, the Palestinians were supposed to get the West Bank area, and the king of Jordan at that time, who was the predecessor of Hussein, decided he wanted it and convinced whoever he needed to convince that they would become part of Jordan, so they did not get their own state back in 48. But when Israel was formed in 48, they were attacked. They prevailed. I know that some American arms and planes were smuggled in to help Israel. And in 1956, there was another war, which the British and French joined with Israel, and that resolved itself. But the big war was 67, which is when Israel was attacked, and then they gained a lot of territory, including the Sinai, the Golan Heights, the whole West Bank, and so forth. And it's not been resolved, except they gave back Sinai and settled with Egypt and Jordan, and not any other countries as far as I can recall. And then, you know, so the 73 war followed, and Nixon actually provided a lot of arms with Kissinger because they were attacked on Yom Kippur, which is the holiest day of the year for the Jewish people. And that's when they were attacked. But Golda Meir did not want to be the one to start a war, so she did not. And she was criticized for that because at the beginning they were failing, but they came back after the U.S. provided them weapons to where they pretty much have the boundaries again with the West Bank. And by the way, I had a cousin who fought in that particular war, um, and he was taken as a prisoner of war by Syria, and they permanently injured his arm while in captivity, so he couldn't fight again.
Hmm. Kim, I'll go ahead. Oh, you need to unmute, dear.
Sorry about that. I just think it's really important in what's happening right now to also recognize the role that Christian Zionism is playing,
Yeah.
because that's a big reason why the European and especially the US aren't really pushing the aid that you would see in most other countries, because it's this evangelical Israel is the key to the second coming,
Yes.
what have you. And so I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Right. Okay. So for those of you who don't quite understand what Christian Zionism is, that is the biblical basis for the for the fact for the fact that for the fact that Genesis 12:3 promises blessings for those who bless Abraham's descendants. That it's an ideology that promotes the idea of Israel's biblical borders, including contested areas like the West Bank, and that encourages Jewish conversion to Christianity as part of fulfilling biblical prophecy, which has caused distrust among Jewish communities. And Christian Zionism links support for Israel to Christian eschatology and biblical covenants, motivating its adherents to promote Jewish sovereignty in Israel as part of their faith and geopolitical activism. Bonus points for Christians who promote it. Basically, that's so all of those GOP, all of the GOP evangelicals who have been promoting Bibi Netanyahu's BS, they are getting bonus points from Dear Leader for it. And that's why they're pushing it. And they are also, keep in mind, this also has to do with accelerationism, right? Wanting the end of the world to come because they believe that if they rush it along, because of course the Lord needs our help to rush along the end of the world, because he can't do it all by himself, that they'll make it better. And we might need to just talk about this today. We might only talk about Gaza today because this is quite a large talking point. We might not get to the executive order today, y'all, just to let you know. But yes, Mindy, you're absolutely correct. Boot money. I skipped you. I apologize. You have your hand up. Go on.
Yeah, I just want to say that Bruce's description was right on in terms of the sequence. The thing of it is, Bruce, the British promised the West Bank to three different parties. That's why they were all fighting. It comes back to the same stuff. The the Brits left us a mess when they got out of the colonial business. We stayed in it. But I'd like everybody to take a big step backward because I think there's a common misperception that Zionism is Judaism, okay? And Jewish belief system is really quite separate from Zionism, which didn't even exist until the British upper class Jewish people put it together. All right. Now, the Arabs that I know don't see this as much as a religious conflict as the Europeans trying to get into the Middle East again and using the Jewish people to do it. You know, the Jewish people have been used quite a bit by Europeans for political objectives. And now we see our country sort of get into the same thing. So look backward at the Balfour Declaration in 1917, which is really pretty much the legal basis. It's sort of tenuous, Bruce. Maybe you could check that out a little bit more.
I believe
But
it's in the chat.
pardon?
I believe that it was dropped in the chat earlier on.
What, the Balfour?
Yeah, by Stephanie.
Oh, great, great. I would recommend everybody getting over to that and taking a look because you'll see that what was at stake was essentially a European colony. And it's very unfortunate that the Jewish population in Europe, who were very European, I mean, they had it culturalized. They were the tools that were used. They were displaced. Their wealth was taken away from them. Their whole identity was being crushed. They needed something. It sort of worked out for everybody. Unfortunately, not the Palestinians, because they never negotiated what needed to be done. All right. And that's what we're looking at. That's why American Jewish people and American Arab people can get this thing fixed because they can look at it from the outside and see where the cracks are, because they do go back quite a way. So anyway, I'm anxious, Bruce.
Sorry, Boot Money, you said Americans can fix this? Or
No.
can't?
American Jewish people who there is such a broad cultural construct there that they're very, the ones that I know, the ones that I follow, like J Street and what's the other guy, Beinhardt, but they're very culturally conflicted right now because what the European Jewish people are doing in settling a new European colony, that's no different than what the English did here, you know. I mean, this isn't like something new. This is a repeat. This is what the Brits did in India. This is what the Brits did in China. This isn't something that just all of a sudden happened because the Jewish people wanted homeland. I think in the big scheme of things, the Jewish people could have been anybody. They would just happen to be the people at the time that the European powers wanted to establish something close to the gas lines. And the British proved that when they overthrew the government in Iran in 1952 or 1953. But anyway, we're getting ahead of the game.
Yeah, we're getting, whew, all right. Bruce, did you want to add something, or we need the questions we need to move on to?
No, I want to add something.
Yes, go for.
Yeah, the British really made a mess of colonization. And I don't know if any of you saw the movie Exodus. It starred Paul Newman and Eva Marie Saint. And it's fiction, but it's actually somewhat what was occurring. After the Holocaust, a lot of Jews needed a homeland, and they were on this boat, Exodus, and the British wouldn't let them in, and they got smuggled in. And the bottom line was there was it led to the conflict. And at that time, some Jewish radical groups, I forget what they were called, Hagun or something like that, they blew up the Hotel David, which, was an act of terrorism at the time, but they wanted the British out, and the British finally agreed to be out. And that's when the UN, had its declaration in 1948, which established the state, as well as the rest of the West Bank was given to Jordan at the time. I should mention that the Jewish community in the United States is very divided. Some are ardent Trump supporters. Why? Mainly because they think he's the best for Israel. But a lot of us are very critical of Netanyahu and the Israeli policies. And although we support Israel's existence and the Israeli people, do not support Netanyahu, do not agree with what's going on in Gaza, thinks it's horrible what's going on there. And so there is a big split there. I mean, maybe some of the Trump supporters don't like what's going on in Gaza either, but they're not going to cross Netanyahu, and they still support the president. But there's a big split there, although from what I've heard, 70% of Jewish voters supported Harris in the election. That's what I've heard. And their biggest issues were, first, pro-democracy, and second, right to choose, which may be of interest to you. But I will stop there.
Thank you, Bruce. I'll be honest. Thank you, Mira, also for the Charity World Central Kitchen supports hunger relief in Gaza. If anyone is interested in donating or learning more, their website is wck.org, and Mira posted it in the chat. Thank you so much for posting that. Y'all, I brought this up because I have been hurting at the lack of conversations had just around me in general about Gaza and the Palestinian perspective. And so that is one of the reasons why I brought it up here. And Julie, I'll get to you in just one moment. So I would like y'all, what responsibility do we feel when systems or governments target vulnerable communities? I just start thinking about that too. Go ahead, Julie.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer that question, but you can touch whatever you want.
That's fine. But actually, it sort of reminds me of what I think. I don't know if it was a 60 Minutes or some news magazine. They were focusing in on what is happening in the West Bank, and how the government is actually paying people to buy land, or they're making it easier for them to buy land in the occupied lands. And there were many people that were living above the Palestinian people, and they were literally throwing things down at them. They had to put nets up. So there's a lot of animosity. I don't know what is going to cure, people living side by side, and all the hate. And, as it was said earlier by Judy, that setting everything back so far, because that hate is going to perpetuate even more so now. And I guess that isn't really what I was going to say. I could identify
I'm so sorry.
with the no. I could relate to the movie, which was came from the book. The Exodus came from Leon Uris. I think Boot Money put that in there, and that has been honestly my ideal of that history. And I always think when everybody's talking about terrorism, well, that movie, that book displayed a lot of terrorism back in that day. They basically kind of created, well, with the British too, but terrorism was involved, let's say. And I think that's also kind of continued. I don't know the answers. I wish I did, but I don't think the leaders of the day are the ones to solve this problem because
No.
they're not serious. They're not serious. Like when Carter brought people to Camp David, and he made them stay until they agreed or they came to some kind of meeting of the minds. And I just, I just wonder, and I don't know how to erase the hate, because that, for the first problem is getting these people food. My God, these people need food now. And this is a man-made problem. So, we need to fix it. We need to get it fixed. We need to donate. I know people are reluctant because, you don't even know what they're doing with the food that's right in front of them. You don't know.
I was about to say, people are reluctant because we let the food go bad.
Yes. And to the USAID, that's another story. But all that food that that we're going to burn now is going to waste. It's just a crazy, I could use stronger words, but it's upside down, backwards. And I want to propose more solutions. I think the short term is get these people food. At least Biden was trying with the Marines and the floating docks and all of that. He was trying. And this guy is not. By the way, I just happened to notice that this starvation stuff is pretty serious. Duh. It's like, are you kidding me? And yeah, it's hard to look at. It is hard to look at, just like it's hard to look at that homeless person when we walk down our streets instead of finding out the history. That's why I think this history is good. And we have to know what's behind the problems that we're trying to solve in order to move forward past. So get them food and then get new leaders.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think I'm very, very thankful for the doctors that are over there trying, and all the people all the humanitarian groups that are over there, dedicating their whole lives to trying to get these people food.
Thank you, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody ask why a two-state solution can't happen, and here a little bit of what Julie just answered. Leadership, okay, with Bibi Netanyahu as a leader, he will not let a two-state solution happen. I'll answer you there. It's also unlikely to succeed because of the decades of failed negotiations. Okay, it's a deep political deadlock. Both Israeli and Palestinian leadership unable to come to the table even because of borders and settlements, and just the Israeli wants to expand into the West Bank and Palestinian territories. Like, okay, there's just a lot of back and forth, right? And so without significant shifts in leadership, willingness, and international support, to enforce difficult compromises, because it will have to be enforced in the beginning, right? Unless you have new leadership. If you have new leadership that will help you enforce it, then it should be okay, or that would agree with it. Because I believe Bruce has mentioned many Jewish people don't like Bibi Netanyahu. don't even agree with what he's doing, which is difficult to understand, but that's okay. So without significant shifts in leadership, willingness, and international support to enforce difficult compromises, the status quo of conflict and separation is likely to persist. This is a lot. We have the strong man Bibi Netanyahu in place, right? Strong man who go ahead, Bruce.
I was going to answer that too, but first, just to agree with Julie, got to get them food. No question. It has to be done fast.
Yeah.
And it should have happened a long time ago as well. As far as the two-state solution, unfortunately, Yitzhak Rabin, who was the prime minister, was assassinated. He was on the way to getting this whole situation resolved. He had done some peace deals, but he was killed. So, the leadership since then, it hasn't occurred. There hasn't been, the Abraham Accords were something that was a step in the right direction, but unfortunately, October 7th happened with Hamas, invading the music festival and the kibbutzes and going across the border and killing a couple of thousand people, including Americans, but mainly Israelis. And from what I understand, there were peace groups within Israel who were in favor of the two-state solution up until that point. But after that, they've kind of gone quiet because they don't trust the situation. Now, I did hear a proposal for if you have a two-state solution, you demilitarize the Palestinian portion. And that may be one way of doing it. But right now, this leadership, you're right, they're not going to agree to it at all. And, Netanyahu, and I don't know what's going to happen with Gaza. I mean, they're indicating that all hell's going to break loose, basically, which doesn't sound good at all. And who knows how long that's going to go on. I would hope they'd have a ceasefire as soon as possible, but he doesn't seem to be going in that direction at all. And, this is a real problem. And I should mention, there was a program that was started under Bill Clinton's administration. It was called the Seeds for Peace. I don't know if you've discussed it yet, but it was a summer camp where children from warring nations would be going together. So kids from Palestine area as well as Israel were a good portion of that. And there was a summer camp in Maine. And in fact, my niece was a lifeguard there for a couple of years. So we actually visited it. And there they learn about each other's cultures, and they become friends.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just Israel and Palestine. It included, I think, Cyprus and some other countries too. But that was started under Clinton. I don't know if the camp is still going on because this was during the late 90s. But it was very impressive, and it seemed to work for those kids to learn about each other and to become friends. So that we need more initiatives like that.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. I remember wanting to go to that. I was such a nerd. Okay. Thank you, Bruce. Judy, you are up next.
I keep losing the thingy. Did I unmute? I can't see it.
You did.
Okay, well then I'm going to go without the screen because I can't find it when I'm on my phone.
That's okay.
And I couldn't get on the computer this afternoon for some reason. So over the last 30 years or so, two things could have happened. And unfortunately, we went the way of Hamas radicalizing people and running Gaza into the ground rather than trying to build up Gaza into a flourishing community. And that's a big part of how we got to where we are today. Because if while Hamas had been in leadership, starting with the Palestinian Authority, if they had taken all the resources that they had been given by Iran and Egypt and, believe it or not, the United States and all these countries, if they had taken those resources and built up their economy and given themselves jobs and production and all these things that we talk about when we're talking about our own communities, we
Yes.
would not be where we are today.
Okay, Judy, I understand that. I do.
And
I also
so what's the only way we're going to be able to solve this is finding ways to get in and get Hamas out, because they're not allowing the food to get to the people. There is proven track records showing that when we go and we drop lift this food to them, they're going and they're snatching the food and they're still not allowing it to get to the people. And that's why.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Judy. No, stop. Israel is the problem. Israel is blocking the food.
I'm saying even once we let it in.
Yes, but you are this is the second time that you have completely pushed all of the blame on Hamas, and I'm not saying that Hamas is not a problem, but Israel is the problem. Bibi Netanyahu
Said that
is.
I agree that Netanyahu is the problem.
Okay, well then you need to name
agree
it.
with that
You need to
1,000%.
name him. You need to name it, and you
I
need to
did.
stop. I know, honey. I know, but you can't just say that Hamas is blocking all of the food and blame and only blame them and say that
I'm saying that once it gets there, Hamas still doesn't let it get in to where it needs to go.
Because
that no matter how much we get in there, Hamas isn't allowing it to get to where it needs to go.
Well, I think we can all agree that food not getting where it needs to go, whether it's being perpetrated by Netanyahu and his administration or Hamas,
is the bad idea or the
that is resulting in a humanitarian crisis.
definitely.
And regardless of assigning blame, that's something we could spend our time doing. I think accountability is important, but what's more important is making sure that people get food and get taken care of.
Although,
but what I'm saying is that we can come up with ideas from now until doomsday, and until we solve that part of the problem, we won't get the food where it needs to go.
Okay, but
I think we can agree that there's probably layers to the problem.
Yes.
And maybe we should allow Marta to share.
Oh, go ahead,
next up.
Martha. I apologize for that. for
Hi,
not
can you
seeing.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Hi. So a moment of silence for 60 minutes as it used to be. But I'm chiming in because you're both right. At least that's my understanding. So
Mhm.
in the before time of, if we even just go back a handful of months, Hamas was blocking the food that Israel allowed in. When they did allow it in, when humanitarian efforts got in, Hamas was taking the food for themselves, at least as covered by 60 Minutes. And it's a big problem with their underground bunkers. So it's a two-part thing. We have, on the one hand, Netanyahu and everything terrible he's doing. And on the other hand, we have this group of people who are intractable. And so I think it's really important to remember that, it started with something that was worse than our 9/11. And I am not apologizing for what Israel has done in the least. I'm afraid I'm going to give that impression. I think what's happening is terrible. It's a genocide. But when we do figure out how to get food in, or if food is allowed in, Part B is what Hamas has been doing with food and supplies it gets in. So just wanted to maybe uh, add that both sides were making good points right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just looking that up, that as far as we know, of course, reporting is only what we know. And that is a problem too.
Hey, I was gonna suggest that, because I know this is a complicated topic, and I think people have brought up a number of different perspectives. It's multifaceted and multi-phase. So we might want to shift to just what can we do right now within our circle of influence and with the things that we're able to do. What might be the way, what can we do to kind of I saw some things in the chat, from, and Stephanie posted that they're organizing some very specific protests in Oklahoma to keep this on the radar. So anyway, I just thought it might be a good time to transition to our action steps.
What can we do right now for Gaza to bring attention to Gaza, to bring, because of course, to bring attention to the fact that they need food yesterday. They need, and they need food to be able to get past the Israeli blockades, which I don't know how we're going to do that. So advocate.
They just lifted them.
Pardon? Oh, okay. Advocate politically by contacting your government representatives to call for a ceasefire, an arms embargo on Israel, and guaranteed humanitarian access to Gaza. This pressure helps open aid channels and stop violence. Support humanitarian organizations like Oxfam, Médecins Sans Frontières, I can't say that, the International Rescue Committee.
That second one was Doctors Without Borders, just in the original French.
Thank you. Yeah, it's lovely. And others delivering food, water, medical aid, hygiene kits, and mental health support directly to Gaza's 2.3 million people facing starvation and disease. You would think that my French would have come back to help me on that, but I must be really tired and hot for it not to have. That's really sad. I lost my gold star for the day.
So what I struggle with is how can we make a difference from afar? Because clearly, as we've talked about, the people on the ground, or in the planes flying over doing the food drops, that that's not working as well as it needs to.
Right.
So, are there things that we can do from here to that are that are potentially indirect but also helpful? So,
I know.
uh,
That's what I was trying to think. Like it's telling, like it's listing these things like participate in public actions such as protests, rallies, vigils, etc. Donate, which we already know. Now, none like the protest rallies, we're doing that stuff already. So I check that stuff off. But donating, which we have limited funds. So I don't know. I mean, for those of you who can donate, please donate. But again, it's the stuff isn't getting there, and when it is getting there, um it's not getting through. What can we do to help from here? Does
well,
anybody have
and you said, yeah, we're already doing events and stuff like that. Well, I know you're doing events, Cecilia, because you're doing everything, but there are people at different stages of their, activism journey. So
oh,
maybe it's welcoming people into those actions because there are new folks that are becoming aware of this every day.
okay, so
It's
no,
hard. It's hard.
everybody's not doing stuff. What?
Maybe not.
Well, and I was just to add to that, when we talked about this even as a topic, I'm not hearing it as much as I think we should be hearing it. I'm seeing these just heartbreaking pictures of starving children, and I'm thinking this should be in every news story,
Yeah.
in every and so maybe we have to bump it up a notch. Maybe we have to call our representatives, even our Dem representatives, and saying, why aren't you, because the one thing we can do is we can cut off the pipeline of money into Israel and influence something that way. So, in other words, Netanyahu can't just operate independently, right? He's reliant on funding that's coming from the United States. So, what can we do to influence? So he'll be more likely to be receptive to an intervention. I mean, the bottom line is there has to be an intervention, and it's got to be immediate. These children are not just children, but people are starving to death, literally, as we
Yes.
speak. And so we've got to bump the story up. We've got to write to our newspapers. We've got to write to 60 Minutes. Does 60 Minutes even exist anymore? I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. We've got to
Yeah.
get it. It's got to be front page news. Right now, I don't feel it's front page news.
Miss Sharon, you go ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
Hi. I I am very upset about people starving. And I want to suggest that we talk to our pastors, our ministers, our religious leaders, and see if they can develop a coalition for humanitarianism. Okay. And if there are any pastors or religious leaders on this site now, um, I would like to connect with you. And I don't know if we have any on this webinar, but I think if we can get people of importance, because like you said, we're doing everything. We're donating, we're protesting. But if we can get a group of pastors, religious leaders to say this is immoral, this is not of God, and I would have to believe that regardless of what faith you are, this is not pleasing to God. And if we can get
Any God.
right, right. Well, I only know one, but whatever you call
I know
him,
what you mean. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Whatever you call him, it cannot be pleasing. And so I think we have to try that route. Okay. Um, if there is a pastor or a religious leader on this call, if you can contact me, I would like to talk to you personally. And again, I don't know how to do that. And of course, whenever I'm on talking, my phone always rings, does it not?
That does.
No one calls me, and it's always spam. But anyway, I think we need to try that route.
It's always a good idea.
Is we need to pray, and it sounds like everyone has their own beliefs on here, which is good. And we need to have a one mindset towards this, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your religion or your faith. And that's what I want to suggest. So at this point, how do we go about this?
Well, at this point, we go about this in contacting everybody. We contact our pastors. We talk
Right.
to our representatives. We contact our senators. We contact people in positions of power, in every position of power that we can think of. And we tell them that what's happening right now is disgusting and it needs to change. And for those that have platforms, they need to be using them. And if they're not using them, then that tells us more about them than it does about the situation. And do they really want to be telling us that much about themselves? I don't think so. They need to be talking about Gaza. Come on now.
They need to be talking about starving people around the world.
Exactly.
And we are burning food that could have been sent to them.
Exactly.
And then they putting in different laws and executive orders to starve our own people here in the United States. We need to, okay, so for the next meeting, can we kind of agree that we would talk to our pastors and our religious leaders?
Yes,
Would that
that's
be an assignment for everyone?
please do. Everyone, if you don't have a religious leader, talk to your representative or anyone in a position of power. Anyone, if you know, and bring resources. Thank you, Adrian. Yes. Or if you know someone with a huge platform on social media, contact them. If you know someone with a huge platform on and a huge platform on social media and they're not using it. Let me rephrase that. If they have a huge platform on social media and they're not talking about Gaza already, right? If they're not using it to already do good, because they're people that are have the platform and they are already talking about it, which is great.
I
Yay.
also have okay, this is where I'm getting, we're the writers part of this, what is it called? Telling our story.
Oh, sharing our stories. Yeah, we're doing that tonight.
Yeah, okay. Are they the ones, if they could, if Indivisible can draft up a letter asking the religious leaders to come together on this issue, is there someone that can do that?
Yeah, I can do that for you, Miss Sharon.
Okay.
Do I have your email?
Yes.
I do. Are you sure? Can you put that in the chat?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Thank you. I'm done for the moment.
Thank you so much, Miss Sharon. And I hope that the Home Depot boycott will be enough for the time being, because I'm definitely boycotting the crap out of them for now. And I've needed them, by the way. I had to specifically not go to them, and had to go to Lowe's.
Lowe's, yeah.
Yep. I went to Lowe's instead of Home Depot, which was a drive, but it was worth it because, yeah, anyway. Never mind. That was from Coffee and Conversation, y'all. I apologize. So, wow, we made it to 5:30. That was a fast hour and a half. I mean, it didn't feel fast, but it was fast. That was not as pleasurable as last week. I apologize, y'all. And Miss Judy, I didn't mean to get into a snap with you. I didn't mean that like that. I just meant that I don't want to put all the blame on one and not the other. They are both equally to blame. Or we need to figure out, you know what I'm saying, yo? I don't.
It's nuanced,
It's nuanced.
complicated.
Complicated.
It's complicated in some ways and simple, extremely simple in certain ways. That people, all people, should have the right to survive and
Yeah.
have food and not be denied basic human rights. And that is worth fighting for, regardless of your religion or your background or whatever political beliefs you have. That should be a given, and it's not. So we have to figure out the path forward.
And we will. We're going to be all right, y'all. We're going to be okay. And I wanted to share with you a very short poem by Nayira Wahid called Silence. It says, "Stay soft. It looks beautiful on you. I don't pay attention to the world ending. It has ended for me many times and began again in the morning." And that's it. So we don't have to fix what is broken in an hour and a half, y'all, but we do have to stop pretending it's not broken. So let your heart break, teach you how to stay human. And I hope to see you on Thursday. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about the executive order about homelessness and mental illness. So yeah, for that exciting bit of conversation, come on back. I promise that it won't all be terrible. I will have half of the conversation with something good and uplifting so that we will end the half uplifted instead of this terrible feeling that you have in your stomach right now. Okay.
I'm thankful for this group, that we can acknowledge a complex and nuanced conversation and come out on the other side, all still united in moving forward.
Me too. And y'all, thank you so much. Thank you for spending your time here. I know how busy you are. I know how crazy life is right now. So I appreciate you very much. We thank you all so very much for being here with us at Sorting Soup. And we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday at 4 p.m. We have Sharing Our Stories tonight at 7 p.m. And we also hope that you will be joining us this Thursday evening for our Vision Forward session. Y'all, we just look forward to a very busy week this week, but a fulfilling week. So again, thank you all so much. You all help make a very tasty soup this week.